Hi, everybody.
Hey, Kareth.
Hey,
Hey.
Kurt.
Hi, everyone. Hey, Steve, thanks for being here. All right, I think
Yeah.
we're going to have more people trickle in.
Oh.
But welcome everybody here. Okay, let's see. Someone's in the waiting room. Admit. There we go. All right. Well, I'm delighted Steve is here and honored that he's here. But I just sort of thought we would begin by what I always do for those of you who haven't been here, which is put a few of you guys on the spot to just ask you what you're drinking. And I'm going to start with Lucy because I haven't seen her in a long time. And she's been my friend since first grade. So Lucy, down in San Diego, what are you drinking tonight?
That's right. Last night, I started on this when it's
Okay, even with my
yours.
giant reading glasses.
It's a Sangiacomo Vineyard 2014.
Nice.
Ooh. Yep.
All right. Excellent. And how's it tasting?
Very good.
Awesome. And Steve is also in Southern California and it's his anniversary. So I'm going to ask Steve to tell us what he's drinking and thank him for submitting the awesome photo, which was the second place in the photo contest. Steve, do you want to unmute or do you want me to unmute you? Let's see. I think I can unmute you. Why don't you, are you able to unmute yourself? There you go.
There we go. Okay. So I am drinking a glass of Dellinger Chardonnay, which I've had lots of their cabs. I've never had a Chardonnay of theirs, and it's really quite good.
I'm not surprised. Cheers. They make great wine, so that doesn't surprise me at all. All right, last but not least, who do we have here? We have Roxana without her camera on. Roxana, do you want to tell us what you're drinking? And I want to thank you again for the beautiful bottle shot with your stunning dogs.
Hi, guys. I'm actually on my way home, so I'm listening in. So I don't have anything just yet, but I will shortly.
Oh.
I'm on my way home from work, so but I'll catch up and grab a glass as soon as I get home. I just have you listening in my or I'm just listening in my car.
You got it. Well, Roxana's a nurse and Marin, so we thank you for your service all the time. So let's get going. I am delighted today to have with me legendary grower Steve Sangiacomo from Sangiacomo Family Vineyards. And oh, let's see, someone has a message. And sorry, forgive me on this. Everyone in, okay, you know what? I'm just going to assume we're all good. I'm delighted to have with us Steve from Sangiacomo Family Vineyards. I was looking back through my old emails and my first email to Steve asking him for fruit came in 2011 and they finally agreed to sell me fruit in 2012. And when they agreed, this is what I wrote in the email to Steve. I said, I am looking forward to working with you this season. I'm wondering if there's something that I need to sign. You also mentioned you might send along a map to help me navigate the vineyard. I'll need assistance since you moved the porta potty that has always been my landmarker.
Awesome.
So I've been working with this fruit since 2012. And as I said, we're super lucky to have Steve with us today. His family is a farming legacy here in Sonoma County. They've been farming here for 3 generations since 1927. Yes, 1927. Their family has always been on the forefront of agriculture and especially sustainable farming. Their family leads by example and they're an inspiration to all of us winemakers and grape growers here in Sonoma County. I like to think that they were early adopters of sustainable farming long before it became a trendy adjective because their family has always believed in respecting Mother Nature, farming with intention and farming with care, treating their workers with the utmost respect and being excellent community members for everybody here in Sonoma County. Their family ethos is to sustainably farm with Mother Nature, to grow world-class wine grapes and craft wines of intensity and balance from our very best vineyard sites. I think that every winemaker who sources fruit from these vineyards finds these words to resonate deeply, and very authentically. So Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here virtually today. And I just hope that you'll start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Kareth. That was one. We should hire you as our PR person. That was the best introduction we've had ever. So, no, it's a pleasure to be with everybody. And as you alluded, we're a multi-generational family business, farming for all over 90 years. A little backstory: our first farming fruits were orchards, so pears and apples and cherries, and that's kind of how we kind of cut our teeth on farming here in Sonoma County. But our grandfather immigrated from Italy in the early 1900s, and he was actually a farmer in Italy. So our farming, when they say it runs in your blood and the roots run deep, it surely does, especially in farming, especially in our family. So he's a farmer in Italy, and he came over and really wanted to get back into farming. He did have a little stop as a garbage man in San Francisco. So that's always a joke. And I imagine a garbage man in San Francisco, right? And people laugh, right? But he quickly wanted to get back to his core passion in life, and that was farming. So he sold out the garbage company and bought our home ranch in 1927, as you alluded. So farming business, my second generation is my dad, Angelo, and we have my aunts, Aunt Lorraine, uncles Buck and Bob, and they grew the farming business and converted to wine grapes in 1969. So we've been farming wine grapes for 50 years. Our Green Acres is our first vineyard. And we kind of expanded kind of throughout the decades. And the joke was, how we became one of the largest pear growing families, farmers in Northern California. And people asked my grandfather, how did you guys grow so quickly? And he said, well, every kid he'd have to buy another ranch. So I guess that's one benefit to having kids. You get to acquire more help, right? So then we converted the pear business was declining in the late 70s. Kind of saw the handwriting on the wall, so we converted all our pear trees to wine grapes in Sonoma Valley, Carneros, and we kind of grew with the wine industry. We developed our first vineyard in Petaluma Gap in 1990, and then our Roberts Road vineyard in 1999, which Kareth and Bruliam been purchasing in 2011. God, time flies. So you kind of work your way about them. Now you have your own little signs out there. You should show. You have your own little Bruliam tag. We mark all our roads with the little winery tags, so they don't have to use landmarks like bathrooms anymore to find out where their rows are. So.
It's true. I'm lucky I loved the first time I saw the road tags with my name. I was so proud. I do have a ton of road tags out there, so it's really fun to post those pictures. We'll put some on Instagram this week.
Yeah, second generation. My brother, third generation. So my brother Mike and my sister Mia are now the current generation running the business. We sell to over 70 wineries of all different sizes, from small, hundreds of thousand cases lower, all the way up
frozen to.
Oh, what was that? Someone said something to me. Forgive me. I didn't mean to cut you off. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Is it my internet that's unstable? No, we're all good? Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Steve.
No, that's kind of where we. And then I'm also drinking. I'm drinking a Bruliam 2014 Sangiacomo as well that I think Lucy's drinking as well. It's tasting amazing, by the way. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a 2012 here, which was the very first vintage that I did with Sangiacomo. It's the last bottle that we have in the house, and it's got tons of spice, and it's still got some fruit, and it's super soft and lovely. So Steve, you actually just teed me up for my first question from you, which is, you talk about working in a farm that's both intergenerational and among your siblings. And I know that there's a lot of romantic notions about family farming and working with family. And I imagine that every day it's both challenging and wonderful in different ways. Can you talk about what it's like to work so intimately with your family?
Yeah, it depends what day it is but today was a good day. No. So, yeah, no, there's, as a multi-generational family business, we're so lucky to have a previous generation who learned from the next generation, especially in farming. If there's any business where what you did the year before and learn from is more pertinent than farming, there's no other business where you really can gain so much knowledge each year from a farming and business perspective. So, yeah, we're very fortunate, my brother, sister, and I, to work side by side with my uncles and my dad, and through the years, and just it's a farming business. You take it home. Family businesses, you're never off the clock, right? So we're constantly talking and working through, all the different challenges, whether it's Mother Nature.
Yep, I can't tell if you're freezing or I'm freezing.
Maybe it's me. Can you hear me? Am I
It
freezing
could
now?
be me too. We have crappy internet. We're both in the country.
Okay, I know. How am I doing now?
Yeah, it sounds good now.
Okay, so anyways, yeah. So it's definitely it's definitely a business. Farming is a good multi-generational business because you can really learn from the day to day from your ancestors. So we're very fortunate.
And I have seen print ads for Sonoma grape growers that include the kids. So the next generation, generation number 4. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there's 7 in the next generation. So we're very excited. The oldest is in college and the youngest is in 5th grade. So there's a big gap there, but we're definitely excited to hopefully there's a couple farmers in there. Hopefully there's a couple, a doctor, a teacher or something in there, but we definitely need 2 farmers to help kind of, carry this farming business on. So we're excited. And, it's something that, we, a lot of them are off, the older ones are at school, but they'll work some summer internships. There's always something to do in the vineyard during the summer. That's how my brother and I and sister kind of cut our teeth on, working in the vineyards, pruning in the winter and leaf pulling in the summer, right? Those are the 2 main viticultural tasks. So.
Yeah, so free labor. So talk about that. Did you ever consider being anything other than a farmer? And how did having sort of the pressure of being part of a multi-generational farming family inform your career path?
That is a great question. So yes, I think deep down, we got up with frost season with my dad and uncles. I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning, they'd get us out of bed. But we got out of bed because we wanted the donuts in the morning. I mean, but they like to have us just out there so we could get out in the freezing cold and go check temperatures and then run back in the car and tell them, oh, it's 33 degrees. And they sat in the warm, heated pickup. But so yeah, we definitely had that in our blood. However, our grandmother, the matriarch of our family, she was very, clear and transparent with us. Like, you don't have to be a farmer. Like, go be a teacher, go be a doctor, go, do not feel any pressure to come back. So there's this sense of, farming, as I alluded to, in your blood. So we knew deep down we'd probably end up back on the family farm. And it's, and the other thing too is, we were able to, my brother and I both worked a little bit after college, but they quickly realized that, kind of reined us in. And there's, again, as we alluded, multi-generational business, those years of really working close with them at the beginning of our careers were just something we can't trade in for anything. They were just so valuable in so many different ways.
So it sounds like the pull of the land is both a romantic notion and really the truth for you. And I think that's really wrapped up in the whole notion of sustainability. Can you talk a little bit about how the Sangiacomo family has been at the forefront, the beginning of this tidal wave of sustainability, and what it means to you and to your ranches?
Yeah, so sustainability, as you alluded, is definitely our mantra. It's in our mission. It's in our core values of who we are as farmers. And I think, and it is, Sonoma County in 2015 put a stake in the ground to be the most sustainable wine region in the world. And we're at 99%, over 99%. So we achieved that goal. But it goes even back, as you alluded before that, with our grandparents, my dad and uncles. Sustainability, it's a holistic approach. I mean, obviously, environment, how being good stewards of the land, making sure you farm responsibly. The adage, leave the farm in a better hand than you received it, making sure you're taking care of all the different, ecological systems that you can that provide so much value in your vineyard. But from a holistic approach, it also involves your employees. I mean, we have over 30 employees that have worked for us for over 20 years. And we have 5 different multi-generational families working for a family business. So it's how we treat our employees is so crucial. They're the lifeblood of our business, and we treat them like family. And that's number one and most important. And the other component is, what you do in your community. Your community is so important to our family, and it has been for, since my grandparents. And so it's just, really having that approach to, do everything you can to, make your community and all your surroundings with neighbors and everything around you a better place.
Well, obviously, your name is synonymous with Sonoma County. Talk about some of the things that you most love about Sonoma County, and they can be related to wine or not related to wine.
Yeah, I do love the vineyards and wine, of course. But I mean, it's the ocean, right? I mean, it's a cliche. I mean, the ocean is so good to us because it provides wonderful afternoon breezes and fog in the morning that makes our grapes taste so delicious, as we know. But I love the ocean. I married my wife's from Huntington Beach, a different part of the state. And so we go down there, which they have that's kind of the beach ocean, the surfing ocean. But Sonoma County, we have, like, I call it the viewing ocean, right? we view our ocean. We don't really go into it, but so I think just being so close to the ocean and have that perspective of going out there with family trips and car rides, and but then also I think number one, the people. We're such a Sonoma County's changing, just like a little town of Sonoma Valley. But there is a community and farming feel to it, and I think that has to do with all the wonderful rolling hills of vineyards. And but the stat, Garrett, that you could ask do you know what % of Sonoma County is in vineyards?
I think I do. Isn't it 7%?
6%.
6. Oh, I was so close.
You're good. You're good. It's probably getting closer to 7. You may have updated data that I don't have, but people always say it's the forest and all the ocean and all the forest land we have, that people always think, you ask that question, people think like 50%, right? I'm sure you've asked it. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I show that graphic from Carissa and the grape growers all the time when I do Zooms and when I'm on the road, because yes, people are surprised. And I think they really forget that Sonoma County is also colossal. It's all of the coastline from Marin to Mendocino and everything going inland to the Sangiacomo Mountains. So it's like almost 80 miles long and 65 miles wide. Which speaks to all of that coastal real estate. And you touched on that a little bit. Can you talk about how that coastal influence specifically informs Petaluma Gap and Roberts Road?
Yes. So the Petaluma Gap, you have that kind of gap, right, is out on the ocean where all that sea breeze comes in. But it's maintaining that natural acidity, right, that our grapes can ripen, right? It's like ripening in an air conditioning unit, right, where you get that nice heat. That we can kind of get that nice California ripeness, which we all like in our wines, right? Moderated, but then maintaining that long hang time and that acidity, right? That natural acidity. And Roberts Road in particular, Roberts Road's one of the first to get the fog in the morning, and from the ocean, it's one of the last for it to leave. So it really will sit over there for till mid-morning a lot of times, and so with that you get just really cool mornings. Like right now, we're in bloom starting soon. So, fog's not always the best during bloom, but what fog does, it can provide some nice small berries and rich, smaller crops, smaller yields, which I think can lead to some more higher fruit intensity, which, a lot of the wines that Roberts Road can entail. So the fog can be your friend because it cools us down and cools our grapes down, but it also, it's part of the whole growing condition components of learning to, deal with some shattered clusters and really, smaller berries. But then also, mitigating all the foggy, drippy mornings, right? That you go out there and the vines are all wet. So it can cause a little farming headaches, but not too much. So.
Right. Which brings me to, what is the best part of your job? And then what's the worst part of your job?
The best part of my job is, I think the people. I think working with, we have sold over 70 winery clients, like yourself and your family, and it's working with just so many different, people that are passionate about wine, passionate about their art, passionate about what they're doing, and it's so fun to just see different people's, tasting it, but then also working, learning about what their vision is for their programs. And so I love seeing that side. I mean, winemaking's art. I mean, I like to say grape growing's art too, as much as hand labor we're doing out there, but winemaking is art. So we get to work with over 70 artists, right, of all different personalities. Not all of them are as nice as you, Garrett, but most of them are. But so I think that's one of the best. And the other thing is Mother Nature, right? So Mother Nature is I'm gonna dovetail into your next question. What's the hardest part? Which Mother Nature is, we love it, but it's also the hardest part. I mean, Mother Nature brings us, there's nothing better than working outside, going out, just the seasonal aspects of our wonderful county of Sonoma County. That's another thing I love about Sonoma County is the seasonal aspects with winters and springs and summers. And so working outside is great. But then the flip side, Mother Nature can be the hardest part because it brings us, uncertainty in terms of like rain when we don't want it, sun when we don't want it, heat spells when we don't want it, obviously, wind events when we don't want it. So, but that's what makes this industry so fun. And that's what makes vintages so fun, right? Because you can go through the trials and tribulations. So.
Absolutely. So that dovetails right into my next question. You talk about having these really indelible memories of being out in the dark checking vineyards as a kid and checking if it was, under 33 degrees. And I'm sure you're up in the night getting stressed about, is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? Is it going to be windy? Is it going to be too moist? Is it, how is this going to affect fruit set? Farming is 24/7, 365 days a year. Can you talk about some of the ways that you decompress and some of your hobbies and passions outside of wine and the way you find a work-life balance?
That is yes, it is all those elements of worry, right? It's like worry, right? That's kind of the nature. But as we try to actually do our best to have like, glasses half full approach. Because in farming, you could worry about everything. I mean, you could worry about a wind event now that's going to break canes and we're going to lose fruit, right? Tonight, right? It's supposed to be 40 mile an hour. We can worry about, a heat spell with a drought. I mean, there's so many, every night, every day that we look at our weather forecast, right? And there's something to worry about.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, for us, it's, it's the balance. I mean, I've seen my going through it again, multi-generation, seeing my dad, uncles going through rain events, I'm used that as a harvest, and just seeing how they handled it with, I remember as a kid in high school, raining in science class, and I'm looking out the window freaking out because it's raining, because I know it's part of my, it affects my family, right? But seeing how they handled it, because it's uncontrollable. It's an uncontrollable circumstance. You have, you wish you could, put a tent up during those times, or, do whatever you can, but you take what it gives you. So, but I mean, decompressing, it's a sports. We're a sports family, love sports. So, I grew up playing football, basketball, baseball, played football in college. So now I can't do football now. I'm too old for them. Basketball, I can't do basketball anymore because of my knees. So, golf's my vet, golf, and a little hunting too, and golf. So that's and kids sports, lots of Little League right now. But Little League, I think, causes more stress. I come home more stressed league game. So I don't know if that helps with decompress, but so.
My brother says the same thing. Both of my brothers are currently coaching youth sports. One is coaching Little League and the other one is coaching flag football. And the joke is we grew up in San Diego. So as Lucy knows, our nemesis team was the Raiders. And my brother, who's now in Virginia, is coaching a team that was assigned the Raiders. So I think it's like the ultimate karma. And now he has to coach them. So yeah, we're a sports family too.
Time they go to sleep. Well, maybe it helps because instead of going to sleep worrying about, farming, I go to sleep worrying about like youth sports. So maybe that's like that part of my brain, like get rid of all the other stuff. So
exactly. Transport one kind of stress for the other, right?
That's it.
So tell me what you're looking most forward to this harvest season as we come into 2021.
What I'm looking forward to is picking Pinot Noir. I'm so excited to pick Pinot Noir after last year, 2020, not being able to do it with the whole fires and everything. So that's one thing I just cannot wait to like have Pinot Noir go off the vine, taste it, that whole process. Chardonnay, we picked last year, but it's always great to pick Chardonnay. But Pinot Noir, right? We all love the smell and taste of Pinot Noir. Here's my farming glasses half full optimistic approach. I think this initial part of growing season with the drought it's going to be a challenging summer. I just think just managing the water. I mean, we do have some water, but it's going to be limited, right? We're going to have to monitor closely. So I'm looking forward to a nice, easy harvest. That's what I'm looking forward to. I have a feeling we're due one. I'm probably jinxing us. I'll knock on wood somewhere.
Knock on wood, right?
I think we're due like an uneventful harvests are never easy. So I'll never put those two words. But how about like a somewhat uneventful harvest?
That's what I've said. I'm looking forward to harvest where it's like nothing to see here, folks. Nothing exciting going on. Just smushing some grapes.
Yeah, you calling saying I'm ready. I think Robert's Road's ready. Can you pick it on Tuesday and then not have to worry about that would be like heaven.
Yes, tell me about it. Yes, you and I are on the same page there.
Yeah.
I've noticed when I look on your social media feeds that your family often talks about having family breakfasts together, gathering for big meals. I see these beautiful photos of these long tables with all of the siblings and grandparents, aunts, uncles, and kids. And I know that food and wine is central to your farming ethos too. Can you talk about some of your favorite wine memories and food wine memories?
Yeah. So I think my favorite is, so we have a basement, which when next time you're over, you have to come over. I'm going to take you to this family. It's like this old school basement that when you think of wine basement, you think they'd all be lined up perfectly and inventoried. But it's the perfect temperature. It's underneath the family home where my dad and uncles and aunt grew up. It's still there. And it's the perfect wine temperature. It's your basement underground. So we store everything down there. But there's wine down there from multiple decades, right? Because that's where my dad and uncles would just store the wine, right? Why buy a wine fridge when you have a perfect
Right.
So I love going down there and just picking vintages, right? Or picking bottles. And I mean, there's all sorts of, different varieties and stuff. So that's a wine memory. That's kind of learning when I learned about wine, as growing up. I started drinking wine when I was 21, right? I never drank wine before.
Never. Not in our house either. Of course not.
Never. So after 21, just being able to go down and grab a bottle with the family, as you kind of alluded to, and just, talking about it and going through the whole, the fun thing is with them, my uncles and just talking about the vintages. So you could, as we all do in our industry, that's the greatest part of being in the industry is, all the behind the scenes, what happened, what was good about it, what was bad about it. So being able to talk through each vintage and seeing how they taste. So that's, and then food is crucial to our Italian family. We grew up on it's unfortunate. My grandmother, when we don't do it. The older generation is, they're kind of in their, kickback years. So, but we used to do family lunches every day. So my aunt, my grandmother that was her tradition as an Italian grandmother. So family lunches, everyone would meet there. I mean, that was when I, first came back. More high school, I'd go up there sometimes. I'd sneak away from school and go up there. But then my aunt kind of took over and she would kind of carry that on. So when I first came back in 1997, or my brother came back in 92, we'd spent a lot of meals, lunchtime meals. That was our meeting spot, lunch. And it would be all the Italian food, all my grandmother's recipes, and just, sitting there talking about, that was when I was in my 20s where I could eat with 2,000 and not have to worry about it. Right. So,
yeah.
But that was, those are always the nice memories of, being out. Now our meetings are with my brother and my brother-in-law in the office, like a true office, like a meetings. So maybe we have to bring that back. Maybe the next generation, when they come back, we can figure out a way to reinvigorate that. So.
Absolutely. So this is a very, very serious question that you just teed me up for. Okay. So this is a really serious question. I do believe that your Nonna has a very famous pasta recipe. Is it bolognese? I can't exactly remember. I know there's something she's very well known for. And I want to know, what is the best wine pairing for Nonna's pasta?
Yeah. So she has, so she has like actually, we call it, our sauce gravy. Like that's like the Italians, like some people call it pasta. We call it gravy, right? She has a gravy pasta sauce recipe that has my aunt carried down. Now my sister Mia, who's an unbelievable cook, she kind of got my grandmother's genes, and where everything's not by recipe, like she just does it by like feel and taste, right? So she has that, she got that gene, right? So yes, the gravy sauce, but the other on top of it, her raviolis, the ravioli recipe with spinach and ground chuck and I mean, it's, again, you look at the recipe and I'm like, well, there's something else. I think there's another key ingredient that my sister knows it's not telling people or something, right? Well, it's like winemakers. When you do, you guys all have everyone's got their trade secrets, right? That they're not saying.
Right.
So,
Right.
But in your question, what does it go with? Well, Pinot Noir. I'm gonna have to say Pinot Noir. That's Pinot Noir on. So we have ravioli every family holiday. The major holidays, right? You know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. We always have raviolis. That's a family tradition that has been carried on. So we do lots of pairings, right? What's the best cab? I mean, obviously cab's fine, but Pinot Noir with it is just heaven. It just brings out every nuance of the fruit and the fruit of the wine and the whole, taste and smells of the pasta ravioli. So
I would imagine your cool climate, all your cool climate sites are great with that, because you have the acidity from the tomato sauce, and then you've got high acid from cool climate sites. So I would imagine that is definitely a food wine pairing that's made in heaven.
That is it. That is it. But I do my one quote I always say is, because Pinot Noir goes with everything. Like that's my. You already know what my favorite variety is, right? You probably don't have to ask that question how many times
Nope.
I mentioned Pinot Noir, but it can go with anything, right? So
I don't know if everybody on the Zoom meeting knows that within the last few years, your family recently segued into making wine under their own brand as well. Can you talk a little bit about that transition and what it feels like to now have your grapes in your own wine?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome. 2016 was our first vintage. We're super small production, kind of just taking our, 1% of our state vineyards. And we decided that it wasn't so much if, but when, and it just felt like 2016 was, the kind of epiphany. I think the timing's right. I think, so we were able to, kind of quickly, we kind of had the plans in work, and we said, I think, people always like, how did you decide? And I think my brother, sister, and I looked like, this is time. We have a next generation coming on, which I think was kind of a, inspiration to really kind of create something that, they can continue to work to build. The farming business we're building every day, but the wine business, wine brand's something that they're not all going to be farmers. Like I said earlier, there's 7. We need 2 farmers. That's all we need. Wants to be a salesman, winemaker, there's a good opportunity. But I think it was just an opportunity for us to kind of, display our vision of our vineyards in a bottle of wine. And as I've said earlier, winemaking's art, right? Everyone has their own touch of it, how they make it with oak and their vision of how they want it to, the structure and philosophy behind the wine. So it was just a great opportunity for us to kind of take that step. And it was kind of a natural evolution of the business. And it's been fun. It's been challenging. As I know, many of our colleagues like yourself has said, it's a great opportunity for you to learn this side of the business and how, which we already knew. We knew the sales part is, like selling wine is not always the easy. That's the hardest thing to do, right?
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. The other stuff's all fun and games. Sales is, the work. That's the work part component. So
I would agree. So what has surprised you the most about the winemaking side? I mean, you've grown up with grape growing in your blood, but there's got to be a few surprises on the winemaking side.
That's good. So James McPhail's our winemaker. You know James very well, right, Kara?
Yes.
He's one of
He's a longtime mentor of mine, and I used to make my wine at his facility. He's fantastic.
Correct. And we've worked with James for over 20 years. He was one of the first winemakers to purchase Robertsford fruit. So just working closely with him. I mean, we shared the same vision, which most of our clients, such as yourself, kind of have that vision of just really wanting the vineyard to be showcased in the wine. Just, minimalistic approach with, good, really making sure that the vineyard's kind of the showcase. And we do these wine tastings every year, right? You've come to our Pinot Noir tastings and our Chardonnay tastings we do, where we allow winemakers to bring samples and we taste them all, right? And we learn, everyone learns, right? Everyone learns. Sample, and you can talk about the same grapes from that, Sojourn made or McPhail made, and you can taste the difference with vinification. So we've seen that transparency, but I think for me, I'm not surprised, but it's been more like how transparent the vineyards are in wine, right? I mean, going through the process, that would usually stop for us, and then we'd kind of taste the final product. But it's been fun going through the whole process from, the early stages, the middle, to all the way through, and just tasting how the wine evolves and how the vineyard really is showcased through the whole process and how it changes, right? And it's, they eventually get to where you want to get. And it's, it's like a child, I guess, right? Eventually you nurture it and it'll eventually get there, right? to where you want it. Well, I guess some kids don't get to where you want it, and some wine. So I guess that wine evolution, I think, has been the most, surprising thing. So.
Well, it will be no surprise to anyone on this call that the Roberts Road site is extremely special to me, and I love sourcing fruit from there. I know James McPhail sometimes calls it feral, which isn't the prettiest adjective, but I think it speaks to that wonderful tension between sort of savory, garrigue, underbrush notes that make it so food friendly, and that sort of crispy, beautiful red fruit, and that yin yang. But in your opinion, what makes Roberts Road an extraordinary site for growing Pinot Noir?
I look at Roberts Road as like it's kind of a farmer's dream in terms of from a soil standpoint. So when we bought that ranch in 1998, and so we did, when you buy a branch, you go do soil tests, and you go out there to see what the soil is, which is important, right? Soil is everything in farming, right? That's the backbone, the foundation. So the soils came back and we had through all the vineyards we've had over the years, when they come back with analysis, there's always something to adjust, right? The pH, some lime and stuff. So Roberts Road soil came back as nothing. So first soils report we ever come back is like, what? Nothing. I'm like, well, we didn't need to hire you. We could have just not done it, because usually the soil scientists they want to find something, right, to tell you to do. So, and one of the reasons is Copeland Creek, which is a creek that kind of bisects the ranch. Over the century, it would meander through that property just for centuries. So what's left is just that alluvial, nice soil with stone, huge rocks, lots of well-drained soil. So I think aside from the site being so, tucked along that mountain, Sonoma Mountain, where the fog just kind of hits that bank and just sits there, as we talked about earlier. So it's that, terroir, right? That's the French term everyone uses. But in this component, the soil, and then also, I think having all that fog and that, deep marine layers sit there for most of the day.
So it is 5:41, and I always tell people I'm not going to talk for 45 minutes. I'm going to open it up to everybody, and of course I did. But if you'd be kind enough to stick around for a few more minutes, I know people will have questions. So I'm going to switch this to the gallery view. And I know we have tons of passionate wine people out there. So if you guys just want to take turns unmuting if you have questions for Steve, he's at your disposal. Hi, Mike. Go ahead. Hi, Mike. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa's not here. She's at choir practice for church. But
okay.
We will see you in a couple of weeks. We're looking forward to it. I actually have two questions for you guys. Number one is I'm looking at the website for Roberts Road, and it looks to me like there is one more section of Chardonnay versus Pinot Noir. I don't know what the acreage breakdown is. It looks like it's maybe pretty darn close, but maybe a little bit more Chardonnay. We've talked about Pinot Noir tonight, but I have to think that the Chardonnay is also an extraordinary component of what Roberts Road is all about.
Yes, good. You're very aware. I like your. You're right. It's more Chardonnay. That's impressive that you are able to notice that, you know, because we get that people say the same thing when they look at the map. Like, wait, I thought Roberts Road was all Pinot Noir, because there's so many Pinot Noir producers producing Roberts Road, you know, bottlings from there. But yeah, so the Chardonnay is, our family does a Roberts Road Chardonnay as well. And we have a couple, there's like 4 other wineries doing vineyard designates from there. So yeah, it's very similar in that whole component of very mineral. I'd say the Chardonnay is just bright, rich acid with lots of minerality. And so the reason why we planted more Chardonnay than Pinot Noir is because when we planted this vineyard, it was an undiscovered site. And I should have mentioned this earlier, the only vineyard around in that part of Petaluma Gap, right? Not just in that section of Pengrove, was Fendler's had a 3-acre Pinot Noir vineyard in the corner. So Gap's Crown is above us, right? But Gap's Crown hadn't been planted. So when we planted it, we didn't even know if we could ripen grapes there. A lot of the wineries that my dad was friends with the neighbor, and when he met him, he said, oh, you know, a lot of wineries have looked at it, but they kind of passed because they thought it was too cold. So when we planted it, we weren't sure what was going to grow at the time. Chardonnay was easier to get contracted because Pinot Noir was, you know, just is, you know, in development. It wasn't as popular as it is now. So we got a contract with a couple wineries for Chardonnay there. And so that's why we're more in Chardonnay. However, every year we are planting more Chardonnay or Pinot Noir. So as we pull out some Chardonnay vines, we're planting more Pinot Noir. But we'll always have nice Chardonnay there just from you know, demand standpoint. We're starting to get more demand for that Chardonnay from that site.
Good. Second question has to do with Wine Spectator magazine. This just came out with their latest edition, and it's called the Cannabis Edition or whatever. And the question I have for you is, they talked about there's regulations in Napa that will not allow growth of that. In Sonoma, it's a little bit less regulated, but they showed pictures of one of the sites where they have these, I don't know what you call them, little tents over their cannabis plants. Why would that not work? Why would that not be something that a big grower of grapes would not want to have to sort of control Mother Nature in a limited way, but control it a little bit?
Well, it's just not feasible. I mean, cannabis, you know, an acre of cannabis goes a long way.
A couple $1 million is what they said in Wine Spectator.
Yeah, exactly. Acre of vineyard is, you know, 10,000 to 10 to 20,000, right? I mean, so there's a lot of times when a rain event's coming, we'd love to just push a button and have a tarp go over the whole thing. So it's just not economically feasible. Yeah. However, it's interesting this year with the drought, you're seeing more people without having water and expecting or less water. You know, the summer heat spikes. A shade cloth is becoming a big thing to kind of protect the fruit. So you're seeing people kind of experiment with that. I mean, again, it's the same thing. That's a lot of shade cloth to put out to protect all the vine, the bunches, but you're only going over a certain area of the plant, right, where the grapes are. So that's what we may do a little bit just to mess around with it this year to learn about it, how much it helps. I mean, it's been around for a while. I don't know, Kareth, have you worked with shade cloth in your past vintages?
I haven't yet, but it's definitely been a hot topic since the start of the year and the low rainfall. I know it's a lot more common in Napa, but of course it's a lot hotter in Napa too. You know, we're lucky at Roberts Road, you're lucky at Roberts Road, that we still get that maritime influence. And Steve talked about the fact that it sort of can be wet and drippy in the morning, which provides some natural protection. And I can understand why in Napa, without having that maritime influence, they've sort of been more on the forefront of putting up shade cloth.
Yep.
It's a hot topic though, for sure. Alan, go ahead. I see you have a question.
Hi. First of all, Kara, thank you for setting this up and inviting Steve. Steve, thank you for sharing everything that you have tonight. My question relates to, are you doing any varietal experimentation or, checking out any other varietals that might thrive in your acreage?
Yes, that's a good question. We are looking, I mean, majority, we're 2/3 Chardonnay and a third Pinot Noir, in that range, and more or less. We do have a little Merlot, which we've had for years. We used to have like 20% of Merlot. That was a long time ago. And then obviously that movie came out. Now we're down to 2%. But Merlot is not a good cool weather grape. So that movie, obviously cool weather does, Pinot Noir does well. So that movie we love that movie. That was the best movie for Pinot Noir. So I'm a huge Sideways fan, right? But we are looking some Riesling, Pinot Blanc. Means just small thing. We have a couple requests from wineries. So this year we are taking, we're looking at developing a block, and we're going to plant, 2 acres of a couple different varieties. Like I said, Pinot Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc's not, I mean, that's been out, but we're going to do a little Sauvignon Blanc in some cool areas just to try it. Which, obviously Russian River and Carneros has Sauvignon Blanc spread throughout it. So that's not anything, revolutionary, but Riesling, we're getting some requests for Riesling. But again, I think these are small, wine club direct bottlings, from wineries. So for us, it's more to learn. I mean, we've had the Albarino with, plant Albarino, and but we haven't gone there because, wineries, they want us to plant it and then want to try it. But we want wineries that understand that they need a home for it. So, but Syrah, we have a little bit of Syrah, but there's Pinot Chard because it's two of the most popular varieties. But Kara,
Awesome.
what are your, besides Pinot Chard, what are your other varieties? Refresh my memory.
I do Rock Piles Inn. And
Okay.
a couple years ago, I did a late harvest Sauvignon Blanc from Russian River Valley, which was a super fun little tiny passion project. And it's sold out, it's gone. And we were going to do it last year, but 2020 was a tough year. So I'm excited to bring back the skin contact late harvest SB project, which is fun. I mean, it's like, less than a ton of fruit, but it's super fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, Pinot and Chard mostly. I'm
Yeah.
trying to look through here. Everyone has awesome. Thank you, everybody. It takes me a minute to get through all the messages. Thank you, everybody who's opened Sangiacomo. Thank you, everybody who's been here today. Do we have additional questions for Mike as we round towards the hour? Steve, sorry, I just called you by your brother's name. Do we have additional questions for Steve?
I really have a
Go
question,
ahead.
but I just wanted to say we met Kara. We're in Atlanta. We met Kara. She was on tour several years ago, and we met her at one of her events. And I was, we fell in love with her and her wines. And through her, that's how we got turned on to Sangiacomo. And we have purchased your wines from you as well. And that's what I love about wine. You fall in love with a winery, and then you ultimately meet a whole bunch of others through it. And I just wanted to thank you guys for making this gorgeous wine, especially in the last year that's been so rough for everyone. To at least have a great bottle of wine to open at the end of the night has been just amazing. So I hope you guys know how much joy you bring to people's lives and how important it is. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Maura and Scott. And I hope that Sonoma ends up on your docket for travel.
It's coming.
Because the Sangiacomos have a stunning, beautiful tasting room. So after you're with me at Grand Cru, we'll send you out that direction or vice versa, because I know you'll have an amazing time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, please come visit. Things are happening. They're happening in Sonoma. Right, Kareth? I feel the vibe. Right?
They are. You have to make a reservation if you want to go out to dinner in Healdsburg on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right?
Good thing.
A week in, like up here, like a week in advance. I mean, I used to call our local spots and just be like, "Hey, can I get a 7 o'clock?" Like, nah, ain't happening. So it's people are out. I get it.
Yeah. There's definitely pent-up demand.
Where's your tasting room, Steve?
Right in Sonoma Valley. Just where where the Sonoma Plaza is. We're like 2 miles south of Sonoma Plaza, right on Broadway Highway 12. So that's actually the original home ranch that my grandfather purchased in 1927. So we built a little tasting room with the tasting terrace, and we were supposed to open last March, and we all know what happened last March. So now we've been open for the last like 5-6 months. So it's good. We're slowly that's why people are coming to Sonoma County. We can feel the vibe. I mean, as you know, Hillsburg's busy, Sonoma Valley's busy, so it's fun. It's fun to see people out and about. So,
well,
Yes,
we're going to
it
be there,
is.
we're going to be there next month. We're visiting Kareth in the morning, and then we're going to see Diane Booker and Adam Lee at Booker up at their winery, and then we're going to be driving back down to Napa. So I may try to set something up at your tasting room.
yeah,
Mike, can I connect you guys via email? Can I do that?
You know what? I'm on their mailing list already.
Okay.
I met a guy at World of Pinot Noir last March a year ago, which was like the last event we went to.
Yeah.
Those ones where everybody's like, should I shake hands or not? Now, he was on a panel. Do you have a guy? I don't think he's a
Yeah,
family.
that was winemaker James McPhail. He was
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please reach out. We'd love to host you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Very
Great.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love the wines.
I think that March was the last. I mean, we all talk about where we were. Like, where were you that weekend?
Right.
Before?
That was the weirdest event because we're this gigantic convention hall, and everybody's like, do you shake hands? Do you, and do you hug people that you know and all this? So, I mean, thank goodness, we've survived all this.
Yeah, we hosted our Pinot Noir tasting. Kara, did you go there that March? I remember it was the same thing. No one knew what to do. They're elbowing and, like just bowing and, but.
No, I actually wasn't, because the next day I was supposed to fly to Houston to do market work. And I came home from the winery on Saturday. And then that night, all the wineries were shut down. And then by Sunday, everything was shut down. And thus began the accumulation of 10 million American miles I'm still sitting on.
I was supposed to go to the tasting that she was going to do in Houston. And so I got the terrible email that she was not going to come. And I thought, okay, that was a good decision on her part.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to being able to be a little bit more out and about these days, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, thank you for being incredibly generous of your time, for spending about an hour with us. I know everyone was delighted. Thank you, everybody, for gathering. Cheers, everybody. And we will see you next time.
All
Bye,
right,
everyone. Thank you again. Be well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.